Construction and interpretation. What is the difference? There is no difference between the words construction and interpretation as such. The terms are used for convenience purposes and to keep certain topics of statutory interpretation separate. For example, rules of construction may include literal and golden rules, and the rules of interpretation may deal with nosciter socius or nosciter socius. Different authors may take different approaches. This should be borne in mind, though, that these rules and principles are not legally binding. They are rather like tools that the judges keep in their minds and use them as and when needed, at times without even referring to or mentioning those rules. However, they are there, and the courts utilize them according to their needs. Whether you want to call it construction of the statutes or interpretation of the statutes, your use of the terms will not be culpable. However, it is advised that in order to avoid any misunderstanding in relation to your assignments or exams, you use the term in a way you are taught by your tutor or lecturer in your class. Let's look at the authority of the rules of interpretation and construction. The rules of construction and interpretation are not laid down in the statutes and are developed by the decisions of the courts. They are there. They are mere principles and are not binding upon the courts. However, they are adhered by the courts to bring consistency, common sense, and effectiveness of the legislation. The lawyers argue and the judges take different approaches to the interpretation of statutes. However, they cannot be argued as a final authority in relation to any piece of legislation, and as such, any reference to previous cases in relation to interpretation may just be one of the aids being applied by the courts. We will now move on to our next section, where we are going to learn different rules of constructions. The main ones are the literal rule, the golden rule, the mischief rule. Let's start with the literal rule in our next section and the first lecture.